Man. Oh, man. So, a lot to talk about today regarding the Eagles roster. Nick Sirianni has press conference. A lot of things to say about not only the run game, the pass game, Avonte Maddox injury, season ending. The Eagles have made some moves, very small moves, but good for the rest of the season. And definitely a lot to talk about here. Eagles acquiring players. We'll see. Have a whole entire week until we play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Monday night and what that looks like after pretty much week 2 is already done. So let's get into it.
Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Well, I hope everybody's enjoying their work week this week. Week 2 is pretty much officially over after, Monday Night Football, and we are getting into week 3, at least for the Philadelphia Eagles going forward. And yes, it looks like the Philadelphia Eagles have made a move at punter. Aaron Siposs is gone, finally. The Eagles have signed former Steelers and Jets punter Braden Mann. We've been talking about him. The Eagles worked him out recently, had interest in him early this offseason, and actually had interest in him last offseason as well. And finally, they made the move. I was just waiting for it, and I didn't think it was going to happen, guys. I really didn't. This would have been the final week for Aaron Siposs to be brought up from the practice squad to the active roster, where if you bring up a player 3 times, that player is stuck on the active roster the rest of the season. And it looks like the Eagles have hopefully upgraded, and it probably has been upgraded. Braden Mann, look, if the Eagles have wanted him for a while, and I think anybody has been better. The Eagles have worked out five punters already, and I didn't think they were even going to really touch this move at all, and I'm really glad to get a new punter in here. And I think what really pissed me off even last year, well, not even that, really since Aaron Siposs has been on this roster since 2020, the end of 21, the end of 20, I forgot when he signed, but I felt like they never really put him against any competition. Like, he was just given this job, and they really didn't give him, if they even thought he was struggling in the past, they never really gave him any competition, even bringing in punters during the season, and I don't understand, like, before the offseason, before the season started, this was one of the main positions we were kind of, worried about. Now, I don't think punter solves any of the situations. I still think, I don't want Britton Covey as punt returner anymore. I don't like him at punt return. I think he's fried. I think he's done. I think he's a liability for that position. Obviously, the fumble, Keely Ringo on the recovery last week on the muff punt. We cannot have that in really dire, important situations. The kick return, which there's really no kick returns anymore, because half of these games I'm watching, I'm not seeing any kicks unless you're squib kicking to waste time at the end of the fourth quarter to waste time to get some time off the board or whatever. But really happy they upgrade this position, and thank God. Did not think it was going to happen, but it happened. Braden Mann is the new punter for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, Nick Sirianni had a press conference, and there's definitely some things we need answered here regarding this roster. Avonte Maddox has had surgery on the torn pec, will be out the rest of the season. I don't think there's even a chance for him to come back if the Eagles make it far in the playoffs this year, if that happens. But Nick said, we have good options in-house moving forward. This is why we cross-train people, whether that's a corner or a safety. We all, of course, will miss Avonte, but this is why Howie and the front office build depth. Mario Goodrich is currently the only cornerback on the roster. Yeah, so Goodrich is the only nickel guy that's left, okay? No Zech McPherson. Zech McPherson was a huge loss, not only for special teams, for nickel, because he was really the favorite backup nickel behind Avonte Maddox. Okay, I don't think the Eagles have faith in Goodrich. I don't think Goodrich can tackle. Look, I think Goodrich getting starting reps is a good thing down the road for this team, whether it's for this year or for the future into next year. Okay, I think as of right now, you have to go outside of this team to go find somebody. Unless there is something else down the line, if there is another plan here. I don't know what in-house means, and all I could really say is it could be James Bradbury moving to the inside. Now, it says that Nick Sirianni didn't talk too much about James Bradbury cross-training in the slot during camp, continued to speak of options. Now, I don't care how much Bradbury's getting paid. Well, if he's getting paid $12 to $13 million, he's got to stay on the outside. Look, teams are going to find out or going to know that their starting nickel corner is out, okay? So what they're going to do is they're probably going to take their number 1 or their number 2 and move them into the slot. And I don't care if Bradbury, how much he's getting paid. Depending on the matchups, I don't care if he's on the inside, if he's on the outside. I have a lot more trust in Josh Jobe than I have a lot more trust in Mario Goodrich in this secondary, because I think Jobe did a fantastic job against Addison last week. Besides that touchdown to Addison, that vertical touchdown, which I think safety help was supposed to be there, which it wasn't, Jobe had a fantastic day against a number 2 wide receiver. So if they move a number 1 on the inside or move a number 2 in certain situations, I think Bradbury has to, or number 2, I should say, that Bradbury kind of really has to shadow that. I don't care, like, if he's getting paid $12, $13 a year, it means that he should always stay on the outside. But if they move a number 2 to the inside or something like that, I think they have to do that. Yes, this offseason they were playing Bradbury on the inside a good amount of times. You're going to have situations in case maybe they did that on purpose because they knew that Avonte Maddox maybe wasn't going to stay healthy. Maybe the Eagles figured, let's try to cross-train Bradbury a little bit because Maddox is a liability as at this point. I mean, I think Maddox only has 1 more year left on his deal next year in 24. He's a $10 million cap hit next year. I don't see the Eagles extending. I don't see them. I mean, they could maybe, but he got hurt 2 times last year. If he didn't make it to the Super Bowl, he wouldn't have even returned the second time, and he's already hurt again. He got hurt in the offseason with a toe injury. Now he's hurt with a torn pectoral. Hurt twice last year, hurt twice this year. Season-ending injury. I can't talk today. Season-ending injury. So I don't. Bradbury can play on the end. I mean, look. It depends on matchups every single week. Move Bradbury around. Okay, this is why I think, obviously, losing Chauncey, I've said this in the last video, I think losing guys that play that hybrid role, like Malcolm Jenkins and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, guys that can move around the field like that, we don't have players like that. We don't have a player like that as of right now in the secondary, which the only way I could say that they have options in-house is only because of Bradbury. Other than that, I have no trust in Mario Goodrich. I think that's a bunch of BS, and I think that either they go with Bradbury on the inside or they're going to go out and get somebody. I mean, Eagles have 10 draft picks next year. They have some draft compensation. They got to, I don't know. I feel like they need to get that. They have to get somebody that can play multiple positions in the secondary and be that move around type value type player that they could get. And I think that's one of the biggest problems. So we're going to find out. The Gainwell versus DeAndre Swift. Obviously, there's a lot of questions going into the run game. DeAndre Swift, because of Gainwell getting hurt, not playing in last week's game. And then obviously, Boston Scott had the concussion, and mostly, Rashad Penny was a reserve type running back last week. Nick had to say this about the running back course. As for Gainwell versus Swift discussion, Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni said this is going to be depending on the hot hand. This is how it's going to look. And adds, we really like that room, and that's going to look different each week. This is where I'm going to get pissed off. Don't say that you're going to give the running back the hot hand. You're going to force a running back with the hot hand, which he's not going to have the hot hand. You're going to just force one running back running every single play. And I hope to God, and they're still not going to listen. I know they're not. Gainwell's going to come back for Monday Night Football, okay? As so far for the injuries, Bradbury will be back, Reed Blankenship will be back, and we will all be back. Gainwell will be back, okay? I have no issues with the returnees, stuff like that, besides Avonte Maddox with the surgery. Nakobe Dean's out for another few weeks, okay? That's the linebacker spot. We'll figure that out. As the linebackers played pretty good last week, so I can't really complain about it. But as for the running backs, I don't want them to force Gainwell to get rep after rep after rep after rep. I don't get this, man. DeAndre Swift is the better back. DeAndre Swift is the better back of the whole entire group. I've been saying this whole entire offseason. Swift had 1 rushing attempt the first week. He had 28 carries the second week. Almost 30 carries for 175 yards. Now, Brian Johnson, we know this offense needs to get better play calling wise because it's absolutely horrendous. So if they want to put Gainwell as a starting running back, and figured because Quez Watkins has a right hamstring right now, so they didn't attempt to target Zacchaeus one time in this game, last game, which wide receiver 3 needs to be involved this year. Are they going to be involved? I mean, like I said, we're going into week 3 now. It's only been 2 weeks of football, so I totally get it. Things are changing as the season goes on. But we need to find a comfortable place with this offense where Brian Johnson feels comfortable of how he uses these players. If they have Gainwell as a starting running back and they want to use Swift as a receiver or something like that, then that's fine. But if Swift is not getting opportunity, and because this Gainwell starting the game is forced, the first game, 15 carries for Kenneth Gainwell and 50-something yards. That's not the hot hand. That's forcing one player to run with the football. That's excluding the rest of your running back core out of the game. You know what I mean? And I'm telling you right now, Gainwell should not have more, depending on who has the hot hand. Let me tell you something. It's not about who has the hot hand. It's about who's the best running back in this room right now, and Swift is not the best running back in this room. As a rotational player, he's great. If you're going to force the ball into Gainwell's hands the whole entire game, and Swift has like 10 to 15 less carries than him, 10 less carries than him, if that's even the case, it's a problem. It's a problem. We all know as Eagle fans who's the best running back. Gainwell's not even close to DeAndre Swift's like his skill level. It's not even close. I laugh about it because it's laughable at this point that they're even considering like, well, whoever has the hot hand will stay in the game. Like, seriously, dude? No. Don't. I mean, this could all be a lie. This could all be like he's not going to tell everybody the game plan. So I get it. Like, he's not going to go out and be like, oh, yeah, well, Swift should have majority of the carries this week. So then the Buccaneers will start, getting ready for DeAndre Swift and how he runs. You know what I mean? So I don't think, this could all be a lie. But whoever has the hot hand, come on now. That it could change it could change every week, but I don't think it's going to change drastically. You know what's in this running back room right now. I mean, I hope Rashad Penny gets a little bit more snaps. I think everybody was talking how slow he looks, but he only had 3 snaps. Like he's only had 3 snaps with the Eagles, unless I'm wrong. I mean, it was only a few snaps in the second game. He was a healthy scratch. Didn't even play the first game. Didn't even dress the first game. So don't give me this bullshit on we're going to go with the hot hand. This better be a lie. This better be the biggest lie because we're facing a team next week. And it's because it's regular season, you're not going to give answers at a press conference. This better be the biggest lie I ever heard in my life when it comes to this running back core. Swift better have majority carries. I'm telling you. If I see Gainwell with more carries than Swift, it's a problem. Then they're playing favorites at this point. They were handcuffed last week because Gainwell couldn't play with the rib injury. So I get it. He was handcuffed. So they had to use Swift. They had no choice. And between Penny and Swift, yes, Swift looked really good because Swift had more opportunity. And Swift is a legit running back 1. And I like the league right now has changed to a rotation with running backs. You don't pay one running back $40 million for a few years. You know what I mean? You I'm just trying to make sense of this. Like, I'm hoping that he doesn't do the complete opposite, and then Gainwell has most carries. And if Gainwell is playing well, then fine. But Swift is more explosive. Swift hits the hole a lot faster. Swift is just better in every ounce of of a football player. He is just better by a million. Don't screw this up, So that's all I got to say. Hopefully this is all a BS lie. Hopefully this is nothing. We're going to go with the hot hand every week. Or who, it changes every week. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But that's the news on Gainwell, Swift, the whole, situation with that, of how they're going to treat this running game going forward. So that's interesting. As for the Buccaneers, it's a pretty good team. 2-0 teams will be facing next Monday night. And I got to say, the Bucs, they haven't given up more than 20 points the past couple games. I got a few very good wide receivers. Their offense looks really good. Baker Mayfield looks good. I ain't going to lie. I didn't think you'd do much over there, but kind of reasserting himself as hey, I can still play. And he looked really good. Can't say anything bad about that offense, and their defense hasn't given up that many points, and the Eagles need to play better this week. This offense needs to take a step forward every single week. Okay, we'll get more into the Bucs later this week, but so far from a standpoint of, I understand they faced a couple teams already. I think they faced the Vikings. They won by 3 points, and then they just faced the Bears. The Bears have just been... yikes, with all the moves they made and the hype behind that team this year. Usually with the teams with the most hype, that's what happens sometimes. So that was, just from the Buccaneers from afar, looked pretty damn good. And then lastly, this is an interesting one. So NFL Rumors on Twitter, they put up a tweet saying that the Philadelphia Eagles reportedly have interest in Arizona Cardinals Budda Baker. Now, take this with a grain of salt, guys. Yes, I know this is just, by who? Who said that they have interest, okay? Until I see that there's an official signing or there is a third party or somebody involved that knows information about this, I cannot believe it. The weird part about this whole thing with the Eagles and the interest in Budda Baker, and I know people are going to be like, well, why would the Eagles trade for a guy, Gannon and Nick and Howie, they just don't get along, from what happened last year, but who knows at this point? He's not making the trade with Jonathan Gannon, he's making the trade with the GM over there. So the Eagles could have good, relationships with the front office for the Cardinals. They've dealt with them before, Zach Ertz is there, so just because Jonathan Gannon's there doesn't mean that they can't make trades with them. Let's be real here. A business is a business at the end of the day. But what was really weird about this a couple days ago when the Eagles did release Trey Sermon, and then the Eagles did release Rashad Evans, it could have meant that they were going to get a new punter, or really Rashad Evans backed out of his contract anyway. The same day, Budda Baker was just on the injury report very randomly with a hamstring. Very randomly was on the injury report. Did not play in Sunday's game against the Giants. Okay, so I thought that was kind of weird how he just ended up on the injury report, and, when he get hurt in practice. I've heard no extra news on Budda Baker, how did he get the hamstring? What happened? I didn't see much there. So this was just out of the blue, out of nowhere. So we'll see where this goes. But to get a bona fide stud like that, and kind of maybe they could cross train some other players if they want to get a Budda Baker here. But I'm not gonna hold my breath on it. And act like this is going to happen, but it would be awesome though, right? But other than that, that's pretty much it. We're going into week 3, and we got a big week here. We got to see what this offense is going to take a next step forward. This run game, I'm telling you right now. I think Swift is already third to fifth in rushing right now within the last couple weeks. I know what the better talent is behind that running back core. And I don't know if Nick is throwing up smoke screens so he's not giving things away. That's what I'm hoping. And the Eagles have a new punter now. And Braden Mann, thank God, Aaron Siposs is officially gone from this team and will probably never come back. So excited to see Braden Mann and his, I think there's a lot more issues with special teams. I think special teams is just horrible right now. Thank God we had some turnovers last week because there were some returns that looked really bad. When we punted and they returned, there was the return, the attack team on punt is pretty bad. I just think there's a lot more issues right now with it. So it's a start at least. As much as I don't want Covey to be the punt returner, I want some change for Devin Allen, some change for Zacchaeus. If he's not going to be a productive wide receiver 3, then put him somewhere. You're just wasting him at this point. So, other than that, guys, pretty much it. Any questions, let me know in the comment section below. If you last this long in this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the video as well for more Eagles content every single day. And I will see you guys on the next one. Shakes, what up, follow, so peace out, guys. Peace.